All right, folks, today we're going to talk about that nasty C word that everyone avoids and no one wants to hear. That's right, consistency. This is the Mindset Artistry Podcast. I'm your host, David DiPaolo. Thank you for joining. This is episode number 39. Thank you for joining the Mindset Movement. Today we are going to talk about consistency. I know I played around a little bit there and made you think I was going to say a different C word. That C word is one that I'm not going to say. It's not a very nice word. You certainly should never call a woman that if you're in a fight or a disagreement. It's kind of fun calling a guy it every once in a while if they're acting like one, but maybe we'll save that for a different podcast. In this podcast, we are going to talk about consistency. The reason why I want to talk about consistency and the reason why I said it's that nasty word that people want to avoid and don't want to hear is because it is, right? When you listen to podcasts like this, when you listen to content like this, when you hear motivational speakers, when you read books to better yourself, when you're talking about personal development, when we're talking about achieving great things, finding success in life, you will hear certain things. And you will hear these three very often. You will hear about motivation, you will hear about accountability, and you will hear about discipline. And I've spoke about them myself. A lot of my podcasts are about that. I've mentioned them plenty of times. They are very important. I live by them all of the time, okay? But in my opinion, consistency is the glue that makes them stick, okay? Consistency is the glue that makes them stick and keeps them going for you. If you don't have consistency, it doesn't work, right? Like, it's easy to be motivated for a day, a week, 2 weeks. It's easy to be disciplined for a few days or whatever it is. It's easy to hold yourself accountable for a few days, a week. But can you be consistent long term, right? Can you make the lifestyle changes that you need to consistently do that forever, right? Like, or for however long it is. Like, if you have a certain finish line or something that you're trying to accomplish or something you need to be done by a certain amount of time, can you be consistent that whole time, right? Can you be motivated that whole time? Can you hold yourself accountable that whole time? Can you be disciplined that whole entire time? And the answer usually is no, right? And let's just look back at New Year's resolutions, right? Most people make New Year's resolutions. Most of the times they are about health. That's the most common one. Whether that be, having a better diet, whether that be working out more, but also, who knows, like maybe it's other things, right? Like you want to achieve something different in your career, or your business, and you have financial goals. Most people set these up and then they fall off, right? They're good for a few days. They start off strong. They do it for a month and then it stops. It goes away, right? That's because they weren't consistent. Okay. And that just goes to show you that motivation comes and goes. It's fine to be disciplined, and you can be disciplined for short periods of time, and you can hold yourself accountable for short periods of time. But if you don't do it long term, if you're not consistent with it, if it's not a long-term change for yourself, you're going to fail. Like, you're not going to do what you set out to do. So whatever it is, right? Whether it's athletically, an athletic goal, something you want to accomplish, whether it's just a personal goal of something you want to accomplish, maybe you want to do a 5K or whatever, maybe something in your career or your business or a financial goal or whatever it is, right? Like, you have to be consistent in order to achieve that. Like, you just need to. It's impossible to do it otherwise, right? So that brings me to the other side of consistency, right? Because a lot of times, we can look at consistency and say, I need to be consistent in these certain things to achieve what I want to, right? To be better, to find success, to win at this, whatever it is. But consistency can go the other way too, right? So when you think of consistency is, can pull you one way or the other, right? You can be consistent in your bad habits. You can be consistent in your bad behaviors. You could start off, like I said, doing something and making these positive changes and then fall off, right? You could fall off a week later, right? And then let's just say you said, whatever, I'm just going to get a pizza tonight, even though you told yourself you were going to eat good. You were, cutting out carbs, or you were not eating pizza anymore, right? And you say, whatever, I'm in a rush. I'm just going to get a pizza. And then the next day comes and you say, you know what, I'm going to eat bad tonight too. I'll on Monday, I'm going to start over, right? That's when you start negotiating with yourself constantly. You're negotiating, your failure, really. Like, you're not negotiating your success, you're negotiating your failure at that point. And you're setting yourself back and you're giving up. And who knows why you're doing that, right? Like, maybe it's comfort, complacency. It's much easier, obviously, to give up than it is to keep going and do hard things. I love that quote. If you want something you've never had, you're going to have to do something you've never done. Like, you're going to have to do the hard things. You're going to have to be disciplined. You're going to have to hold yourself accountable. You're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to cut things out, things that you know that are bad for you. So yeah, it's easier to give up, right? It's easier to fall back into those bad habits, those bad behaviors. It's easier to be complacent because that's what you've been always doing. Like, that's been comfortable for you. You've gotten by, like you're still alive, right? So like, whatever it is, like, your why just isn't important enough for you to stick with it. That's another great quote. He who has a why can find any how. I love that quote because that's the truth. Like, you have to have tunnel vision to what your why is. Like, that why has to keep you focused. That why that you set for yourself of why you want to do something or why you are doing something, that has to be always in your mind. Like, that always has to be stuck there. So you can go back to it and say, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And the only way that's going to happen is if I'm consistent in doing these right things. Like, that plan I put together, what I know that need to do to be successful, I have to do that. And this is why I'm doing it. So if you don't have that, it's easy to fall off. And then it's easy to be consistent in doing the wrong things, right? It's easy to keep putting it off. It's easy to say, whatever, I'm going to start on Monday. I'm going to start next month. I know I messed up. I'm going to start over. I'm going to do this. But that's the problem, right? It's so easy to give up. It's so easy to be consistent in these bad habits, these bad behaviors. It's much harder to be consistent in doing things the right way. And look at anyone who's accomplished anything great in life, like maybe an athlete that you look up to, an entrepreneur that you look up to, some person who changed the world, has done amazing and great things, invented something, whatever it is. Like, if you look at their lives, and if you ever hear them talk or hear an interview or read their book, it wasn't easy. Okay, they made huge sacrifices. They worked hard. They put in the extra work. They gave up things that they knew were bad for them. They didn't waste time. Look, it wasn't easy, the work that needs to go in to accomplish these great things, right? They were consistent. They were consistently great at keeping themselves motivated, disciplined, and accountable, and to keep going back to those three things. And lots of other factors and intangibles in their life. But they were consistent in doing things the right way. Obviously, it's like, there's only one Michael Jordan, right? There's only one Wayne Gretzky, right? There's only one Nikolai Tesla. There's only, like, these people, that's it. Like, this was their life. They were so dedicated. Kobe Bryant's a great example. Because Kobe was, a lot more in the social media, I guess, times where social media was bigger, where you can kind of see a lot more of this guy and hear him talk a lot more and hear interviews, and it's all over the internet and that kind of stuff, where what maybe like Michael Jordan or Kareem before him, or even like Wilt Chamberlain and Russell, like these guys, like, it's not the same, right? But we can hear that, and we can go back and see YouTube videos of Kobe and even Jordan now. Like, he did The Last Dance. Like, that was a great documentary. Go listen to these guys. Like, listen to these guys and what they've done and the sacrifices that they've made and what the work that they had to put in and how much of their life was consumed by this. Like, winning championships was it. Like, was their life. Okay. And that's how you need to understand that, like, whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish great, you are going to have to sacrifice. You are going to have to stay motivated. You're going to need to find your why. You're going to have to be disciplined. You're going to have to hold yourself accountable, and you're going to need to be consistent with those things. You're going to have a great mindset. You're going to have to be consistent with having a great mindset, because if you fall off, it's so easy to give up, and it's so easy to be consistent in the wrong things, in the bad behaviors, in the bad habits. Okay. I'm going to give you a little personal example of myself right now. Look, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not the most successful person out there. I've accomplished some great things in my life, and I am far from done, and there's a lot more that I'm going to accomplish. I promise you that. quote me on that. I got a lot more to prove. It's from Nipsey Hussle. So look, I'm going to give you an example of something I'm going through in my life right now that kind of applies to this and about consistency. And don't get me wrong, I'm consistent with a lot of things in my life. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. I'm very consistent with the foods that I eat, my workouts, my health, the time that I put into my business, the time that I put into spending time with my family, the time that I put into bettering myself and educating myself. Like, I'm very consistent with a lot of things in my life. But right now, I'm doing the 75 Hard program. If you don't know what the 75 Hard program is, that's Andy Frisella's program. It's 75 days of doing a checklist of certain things. It's drinking a gallon of water every day. It's, working out twice a day for at least 45 minutes. One of them needs to be outside, which is very difficult in Philadelphia right now. Anyway, no drinking, no cheat meals. You have to stick to a diet, read 10 pages of a book each day, take a progress picture, and that's it. So 75 hard, 75 days that you need to stick to that program. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that this is like a workout or a health program. It is not. In my opinion, it is a mindset program, okay? And I love this. This is the Mindset Artistry Podcast, so this is right in line with most of the things that I'm talking about all of the time. I've tried to do the 75 hard in the past, and I've done it for a little while or a month or a week, and I fell off, and I put it off and said I'll do it another time. This time I said I want to do it, right? And I was realistic. I said, okay, the Eagles, I'm from Philadelphia. Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl. Obviously, go Birds. They didn't just win. They kicked the shit out of the Chiefs. So anyway, we were in a playoff run. Super Bowl was coming up. And I said, I'm going to do 75 hard, but I'm going to do it after the Super Bowl because I want to go to my buddy's Super Bowl party, hang out with my friends, drink some beers, eat some, unhealthy food. And I'll start 75 hard once this is over. Okay, once the Super Bowl. That Monday comes around, boom, I'm dialed in. I'm doing 75 hard. What I forgot, rookie move. Eagles won the Super Bowl. 2017. They had a Super Bowl parade. I went down there with all my friends. My wife, she was not my wife at the time. Party, drank, had a great time. What you usually do at a Super Bowl parade, especially here in Philadelphia, if you haven't noticed. And that was coming up that Friday, right? So the Super Bowl parade's coming up after the Super Bowl. And I said, oh, shit, that would be really great. I would love to drink some beers out there. A bunch of people are going to be there that I know celebrating the Eagles. It'd be great to go down and get a cheesesteak down the street. And I had a decision to make, okay? I could put the 75 hard program off until that next Monday that was coming up, or I could stay disciplined, hold myself accountable, stay motivated, like I've said, and actually get this done. Because I knew that if I negotiated that with myself and gave up and said, I'm going to start this again on Monday, I knew I would never do it. I knew I was going to keep putting it off. Something else was always going to come up. And this would have been a great weekend to do it, right? Super Bowl celebration. I would have drank and had a good time. The next day, I was going out for Valentine's Day with my wife and another couple. I would have loved to have a couple drinks at that dinner, maybe eat some bread. So it would have been a great weekend to do that. But I said, no, I am not going to give up on this time. I'm not going to put this off. I am going to stick with this and get this done. Now, here I am. I'm like 15 days in to the program, and I know I am not going to give up this time. I knew after I got through that threshold and stayed strong on that one and kept my mental fortitude to not give up and not give in to, my indulges. I like indulging in these things, these bad behaviors, and that I wanted to do, obviously. Now I know I'm not going to stop, right? Like, there's nothing that's going to come up. There's no party or event that's going to come up that I'm going to have a drink at. There's nothing coming up that I'm going to say, I'm going off of my diet, I'm going to eat like shit tonight or whatever it is. Like, I know I am not going to mess that up, right? And the other stuff's the working out and the water and the reading and all that stuff. I do that anyway for the most part. The outside workout, again, is a little tough because, it's been really cold here in February. There's been days where it's in, under 10 outside. But you know what? That's another part of it too. Like, going out there and doing something that I know other people aren't doing, that I know that they're not willing to do. Like, that mentally makes you feel a lot better about yourself, okay? So where I'm getting at with this, now obviously this program is all about consistency. It's 75 days of being consistent with that checklist of things that you need to do. Now, here I am doing it, and the great thing about that is I'm seeing results. I'm stacking up these wins, right? Like that was a huge win for me to not, fall in and give up and go party for the Super Bowl parade. That was a huge win for me. I'm also seeing results, right? I'm dropping a couple pounds. I'm seeing results in my workouts. I'm able to do more than I was able to do before. I'm pushing harder. So I'm building momentum, okay? And that momentum makes the consistency to do the right things a lot easier. Okay, when you see that momentum, when you see the results, when you see these small wins, it's a lot easier to stay consistent, okay? So you need to measure these wins, these results, and you need to congratulate yourself for them. Now, you need to know it's not over, right? It's not done. Job's not done. You still have to go out there and keep doing it. You have to still be consistent. But when you can look at these results and you could say, look, I like where this is headed. I'm going to keep doing this. I like the momentum that I have here. It's a lot easier to stay consistent with that. It's a lot easier to not give up. It's a lot easier to not go back into that comfort zone or fall back into that complacency. So look, this isn't an advertisement for 75 Hard. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an example of myself. And again, I'm very consistent with a lot of things in my life, but this is a really good, measurement of staying consistent and sticking with it and having a why and knowing that you want to do something and staying with it and keeping yourself motivated and keeping yourself disciplined and keeping yourself accountable. So look, that's just an example. Try the 75 Hard program. I would suggest it, but I know I'm not giving up this time. I'm going to keep with it. I'm going to keep staying consistent with that and all the other things that I want to consistently achieve in my life. As I said, I am not done accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish in life. I am always going to set big goals for myself, and I'm always going to keep at it, right? I'm a person that has given up plenty of times in my life. There's plenty of times I've given up or said I was going to start tomorrow or went back to bad behaviors and bad habits. And I have changed that exponentially in my life, especially since having my son and getting married. They are my why. And I know that I can't let them down in particular. And that alone keeps me very, very motivated. That alone makes me stay very disciplined and keeps myself accountable. And makes me stay consistent in what I am trying to accomplish and why I'm always trying to better myself and work on personal development, which is why I wanted to do the 75 Hard program. So, but look, that's it, everyone. I wanted to talk about consistency this week, but I wanted to talk about the good side and the bad side of it and how easy it is to fall back into that bad side and how hard it is to stay on that good side. But when you do stay with that good side, I promise you will accomplish great things in your life that you've never accomplished before. You just need to stick with it, stay consistent. That's it, everyone. I will see you all next week. Thank you for joining.